Stitchers, my name's Jordan. I'm the designer of Little Stitch Girl. Today I wanted to show you some of the specialty stitches I use in my charts. This is one of my first charts. This is Blossom House. And you can see over here there's a lot of specialty stitches. An even better view of that is on the actual model. There's Lazy Daisy stitches for the petals and the leaves. There's Smyrna stitches for the inside of the flowers. And there's French knots or Colonial knots for the middle of the smaller flowers. In my chart, this is what they look like. So these are the Lazy Daisies. These are the French or Colonial knots, and these are the Smyrnas. First, I'm going to show you how to do a French knot. So first, we're going to take our needle and our thread, and we're going to wrap our needle with our thread twice. So that's once and twice. And then we're going to go down in a hole, not the same hole that you came up through. So I'm going to do one right next to it. And now make sure that you are holding the floss very tight to keep the tension. That'll help make sure that your French knots are uniform. And pull down, maybe, there we go. And pull slowly to make sure that it's all going right. And there you've got a French knot. And we're going to do one more. So I'm going to come up through this hole. I'm going to take my floss. I'm going to wrap it 1, 2, and then I'm going to go into the hole adjacent to it. And I'm going to maintain grip on the extra floss as I pull down. And that's a French knot. Next, I'm going to show you how I do a colonial knot. I'm going to do those right over here. So I'm going to come up through the fabric. I'm going to hold my floss tight. I'm going to take my needle and go over and then wrap it under the floss. Then I'm going to take the extra length of the floss and put it over and under. So I've wrapped it in kind of a figure 8 and then go into the hole adjacent. Again, maintain grip and pull through, and that's a colonial knot. So I'm going to come up through my fabric. I'm going to take my needle and go over and then under my floss. I'm going to take the excess floss and wrap it over and under, and then go down in the hole, adjacent, maintain grip, and pull. Now, as I'm zoomed in right here, you can see the difference between the colonial and the French knots is pretty subtle. I do find that it's easier to maintain uniformity with colonial knots, which is why I prefer them, but they can be used interchangeably at any time. Some people also like to use beads. I've never tried that, but I think that's a great idea as well if you don't want to use the knots. Next, I'm going to show you how to do a Smyrna stitch. So again, on my charts, those Smyrnas look like this. So for a Smyrna, I'm going to come up from the bottom. Smyrnas are quite easy to do because it's basically doing a normal X and then just a plus on top of it. But mine are double the size of a normal X. So that would be one stitch, but we're going to go one more and pull all the way through. And then I'm going to come up on this side and I'm going to cross it like a normal stitch. Next, I'm going to take the floss and I'm going to go from the bottom and then across from the side to complete my plus. Oh, and that's a Smyrna. So now I'll zoom in and show you how to do one very close up. So I'm going to start with a normal X but oversized. And then I'm going to do a plus over top. And that's a Smyrna stitch. Okay, the last one I'm going to show you is a lazy daisy. Lazy daisies, again, are charted on mine like that. So you can see they go across 3 or 1.5 stitches. So I'm going to start right here, and I'm going to do a diagonal one this way. So I've come up through my fabric. Now I'm going to go down through the same hole, but not all the way. I'm going to leave a little loop. So then I'm going to count up 1.5 stitches, so that's 1, 2, 3, and bring my needle up through there, and then I'm going to catch that loop. I'm going to pull it, and then I'm going to go down, not in that same hole, but in the one just above it, in the same direction that the petal will be going. And that's a lazy daisy. I'm going to be doing this lazy daisy in the opposite direction. So I'm going to go up through here, and I'm going to go back down in that same hole, but not all the way, leaving a loop. Then I'm going to count 3, 1, 2, 3, and come up from there. And I'm going to catch the loop, make sure it's not twisted, just to make the lazy daisy look best. And I'm going to pull, and then I'm going to go down in the hole adjacent to where my thread is coming from, in the same direction as the petal, and pull through. And then sometimes I do take my needle and kind of play with them and just fluff them a little bit, I guess, just to make them look more rounded. Now I'm going to show you how to put them all together. Let's start with the smaller flower. We come up right here, and we're going to go back down and make our loop. Then we're going to count up 1, 2, 3. Pull to tighten the loop, and go down. There's all the petals for that flower. So now I'm going to take another color of floss. I'm going to come up through the center. This time I'm going to do a colonial knot. I'm going to take my, so that I'm going to show you how I do a French knot, and then I'm going to actually do a colonial knot. So for a French knot, I'm going to wrap the floss around the needle twice, and then I'd go into the hole, hold it tight, and pull my needle through. I'm going to do a colonial knot, so I'm going to take my needle and put it over my floss and then wrap it under, and then I'm going to take the extra of the floss and wrap it around. I'm going to maintain my tension, and I'm going to pull through. So that's that flower. Next, I'm going to come over to the side and I'm going to do the larger flower. So I'm going to start here, and I'm going to start with one of the side petals. So I'm going to go down from the same hole, and then I'm going to count over, and on these petals I do 2 full stitches. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm going to come down in the adjacent hole. Now I'm going to do the Smyrna in the middle with a different color. So I'm going to come up and down into the same holes that the lazy daisies were stitched in, and cross. And then the last one. And there we go. That's how I do Lazy Daisies, Smyrna stitches, Colonial Knots, and French knots. And that's how I stitched my flowers on all of my year on the trellis charts. And anytime I've used Lazy Daisies or French knots or anything in other patterns. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comments down below. Have fun, be well, and happy stitching. Bye-bye.